بسم الله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. Welcome to another session where we started Surah Al-Mulk in our Quran analysis series. And Alhamdulillah, last time we managed to do the introduction and we also managed to do the Nahw of ayah number 1. And we looked at different translations. And the thing we mentioned is that على كل شيء here is muqaddam, and therefore this is an indication of something called hasr. And hasr is basically where you have a ruling applied to only one particular person or thing. So هو على كل شيء قدير. Only he is capable of all things, in comparison to هو قدير على كل شيء. He is capable of all things. They're totally different. So this one has an only that is embedded in it, right? That we talked about it and we tried to find in the different translations. I don't know, maybe they captured it in a different way that we couldn't ascertain. Allahu Ta'ala alam. But I would have loved to see only in at least in one of those translations so that this idea of hasr is captured. And the point being that the one who is the only one who is capable of all things is certainly blessed. That's the point. I mean, if anybody can do anything, then it doesn't really indicate the point of tabarak. But if you add the only here, he's the only one who is capable of all things, then you understand how blessed and how plentiful then he is. Now that makes even more of a stronger argument for tabarak. Ala kullin, we'll continue inshallah where we stopped. So ayah number 2 begins الذي خلق الموت والحياة ليبلوكم أيكم أحسن عملا وهو العزيز الغفور. He is the one who created death and life. For what reason? To test which one of you is better in deeds, in terms of deeds, while he is Al-Aziz and Al-Ghafur, while he is almighty and all wise, right? That's ayah number 2. And then of course we have ayah number 3. الذي خلق سبع سماوات طباقا ما ترى في خلق الرحمن من تفاوت فارجع البصر هل ترى من فطور. He is the one who created 7 heavens طباقا. We'll look at this طباقا in a bit more detail. So there's 2 ways in which you can understand طباقا. ما ترى في خلق الرحمن من تفاوت. You will not see in the creation of Ar-Rahman any kind of faults. فارجع البصر هل ترى من فطور. Return, go on, return your gaze again. Do you see any cracks? Do you see any faults, right? Any fissures, any openings, right? All right. So let's look at الذي. Let's begin. If anybody wants to participate, by the way, feel free. You can raise your hand. Let me. Yes, Ima, fantastic. We can do the
السلام عليكم.
عليكم السلام ورحمة الله.
الذي اسم موصول.
Mm-hmm.
خلق is فعل ماضي هو.
Mm-hmm.
There's no outside doer.
Mm-hmm.
الموتى is nasab, so it's مفعول به.
الموتى is yes مفعول به.
والحياة also another one have عطف.
Mm-hmm.
So
this is
مفعول به too.
mm-hmm. So whenever we have so I know in Bayina we learned, مفعول به 1, مفعول به number 2 or is connected. But grammatically, whenever you have wow or حرف عطف, any حرف عطف, then the grammatical indication of label would be اسم معطوف. So we'll call this اسم
Yes,
معطوف.
اسم معطوف.
Yeah. All right.
ليبلوكم لي.
What kind of حرف is that?
4 حرف.
Uh-huh.
jar.
Yes.
But that's fi'l mudari, so
True. So I'll
what do
tell
we
you
do
what's
with that?
happening here. This is what's happening here.
Lian. So an cuts off the job of the half jar. But no, that's
Yes,
still
it's
fi'al madi though.
this is fi'l
Mudari,
mudari.
sorry.
Yes.
Say mudari.
So
So
li,
it's just a four.
yeah, so li would be حرف jar. An would be اسم مجرور, but it's محذوف. But this would be the اسم مجرور. But we know an does something to مضارع, right? It makes it
I makes it a
منصوب.
masdar.
Yes, and together they form a masdar, masdar مؤول, right?
Masdar mu'allaf.
Exactly.
So is it fi mahali jar then? No.
في محل جر. So this أن
Okay.
يبلوكم, this whole thing would be في محل جر.
Okay.
Yeah.
And ayukum is that only thing. I forgot the name.
Okay, so now here's the thing. So we have يبلو is a فعل مضارع, right? يبلو the
Yes.
فاعل هو
Oh,
يبلو.
yes. Kum is maf'ul bihi and
Mm-hmm.
antum
Yes. But يبلو is one of those فعلs that can take on two مفعول بهs.
to maf'ul.
Uh-huh. So now this is a complete sentence. So this complete
Ayukum
sentence
ahsanu amala.
is in the
Mm-hmm.
place of the second مفعول به of يبلو. So kum is
Okay.
مفعول به number one, and this whole sentence is مفعول به number two. But then when you enter inside this sentence, you have جملة اسمية, right? So
Uh-huh.
I'm just going to complete writing here. So this is مضارع, and it's مضارع منصوب. And of course the فاعل, like we said, is هو. And then the kum, the space is getting a bit smaller. But anyway, as long as you understand. Okay, so I'm just going to put in brackets here. Kum is مفعول. Why is the space so big? مفعول به, number one. مفعول به. Okay. All right. So now kum is, like we said, the مفعول به number two. And we're saying أيكم, the entire thing is مفعول به number
Number
two.
two.
But inside that sentence, what do you see?
So ayukum ahsanu. Is that a family for
It
fi'il
looks like
madi?
family four, but it is not.
Okay,
That's
ahsanu
an
amala. You
interesting
you
observation.
said the meaning, but I forgot. Amalan is
Better,
obviously an ism.
better.
Better is an ism. So
What kind of ism is that? If I say he is better
uh,
than
tafdil,
yes,
ism
تفضيل.
tafdil,
Beautiful. Now,
ism
before we come to
tafdil.
better, look, we have ayu and kum. So we have ayu, these are two words. Ayu is a mudaf, kum is a mudaf ilay. But what do you think ayyukum could be? It's rafa'. So what could it be?
المبتدأ.
So this is our mubtada, because it's the first rafa' in this jumla ismiya. And of course, kum, like we said, kum is the attached pronoun. So this is mudaf ilayhi. A pronoun attached to an ism, always mudaf ilayh. A pronoun
Yes,
attached to a fi'l, always maf'ul bihi.
always.
Yes. So now we have mubtada. What do you think ahsanu is then?
خبر.
Beautiful. So ahsanu is khabar. Now, we said ahsanu is ism tafdeel. The thing about ism tafdeel, if I say you are better, there's a question in your mind
So
in
so
terms
amalan
of
is a tamyiz in nasab form.
tamyiz. Beautiful. Exactly. So
So
amalan,
better in what? Better in amal, better in deeds.
better indeed. Precisely. Yeah. So amalan will be the tamyiz, right?
Okay.
Anybody has a question? Are we all clear? Is everything okay? Please, again, if you have any questions, feel free to unmute yourself and ask. I want this to be very interactive.
I think Sister Sakina will want to try, yeah, Sakina?
Again, you want to try?
Okay, sure.
Go ahead.
Inshallah. Were half of Atif.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Matuf on the previous sentence.
Mm-hmm.
And huwa jumla bada has jumla ismiya.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful.
Huwa is mubtada, rafa.
Mm-hmm.
he is Azizul is Khabar, Khabar 1,
Yes, khabar 1,
and Gafurun is Khabar 2.
khabar 2. Precisely. Now, I added something. You said harf atif, but I added something. I said
Yes,
this
we have.
wow could also be wow haliya, right?
Yes, while
And
he is there, that sounds better and it makes
exactly.
more sense.
Yeah. It
Yes,
sounds better, doesn't it? Because wow followed by a jumla ismiya most of the time is going to be hal,
yes,
right?
of the previous. Yes,
But if you look at it as harf atif, is
Alhamdulillah.
also fine. Because I think some of the translators also look at it as just harf atif, but some of them would also look at it as, or even some of them just looked at this as a new sentence, like a complete new sentence. So they'll put a full stop here, عملا, put a full stop, وهو العزيز الغفور. He is Al-Aziz Al-Ghafur as a new sentence. So wow can be looked at in so many different ways, right?
Because Tabarak is to Lazul Jalala. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So even
Yes. Yeah,
Liam
it's still
mix.
talking about
So,
Allah. Beautiful. Now, before we go to number 3, ayah number 3, we have alladhi here, and we talked about alladhi before, and we said
yeah,
we didn't actually say. So this alladhi
that's
is
about it.
actually, what do you guys think? How is it
So
It's
related?
related.
Uh-huh. But how?
It's related to the first tabaraka.
Yes.
The
So
one
this
who
alladhi,
and the one who.
yes, the one who and the
it
one who.
will be
So
like adjective sifa. Sifa.
not a sifa, but something else. Like if I can actually say تبارك الذي بيده الملك. I can also say تبارك الذي خلق الموت. I can also say تبارك الذي خلق سبع سماوات. So what
Yeah,
kind of
many alladhi.
yes, but what kind of relationship do we have when you can replace one thing with the other? For example, if I say I made your
Badal.
father Ahmed.
Badal.
Badal.
Badal,
Precisely.
yeah.
Yes, badal. So this is a badal of the first الذي. In other words, if I said تبارك الذي بيده الملك is the same as saying تبارك الذي خلق الموت. It's the same person. I'm talking about the same person. And if I said تبارك الذي خلق سبع سماوات, it's still the same person. Or rather, of course, here we're talking about Allah. It's still the same entity, right? So that's a badal. Okay. Then we go to the next ayah number 3. Who wants to participate? Anybody else wants to participate? Or do we continue with Ima and Sakina? Okay, Sultana, you can go ahead.
الذي, again this is مبتدا, اسم موصول.
Mubtada? We just did alladhi here. What did we say?
It is وبدل, again
Ha,
I'll take the same.
badal. Although
بدل.
there are so many different ways of looking at this alladhi. For some reason, there's several ways. Okay? So badal is one of them. We can also look at it as sifa. We can also look at it as khabar, and I will explain this later. But we have already understood what badal, how it is a badal. So as a sifa and a khabar, I will explain later. We'll come back to it. Okay. Khalaqa?
Though it is بدل, it is again مبتدا, na sister?
Not mubtada,
في
khabar.
محل رفع الذي.
It's going to be
Okay, here
khabar
خبر.
instead. Not
Okay.
mubtada,
The
but
جملة
khabar.
بعدها is صلة الموصول. Okay. جملة بعدها is صلة الموصول. خلق is فعل ماضي. هو ضمير مستتر is the file of خلق.
Yes.
Then سبع سماوات, this is مضاف مضاف إليه, which is مفعول به for the خلق فعل. طباقا is the حال of the سبع سماوات.
Beautiful. And again, we'll come back and talk
Okay.
about tibaqan later.
जी. ما is ما نفي. ترى is فعل ماضي.
فعل ماضي.
را يرى يعني را يرى ترى is فعل مضارع.
مضارع.
فعل مضارع.
فاعل.
Then fa'il is anta.
أنت.
Anta zamir. Anta zamir.
Mhm.
Mustatir is the fa'il.
Mhm.
في خلق الرحمن, this is jar majroor, which is
Mhm.
متعلق بالفعل ترى.
Mhm.
من
And of course it's إضافة, right? خلق الرحمن.
خلق يجي ها.
Mm.
خلق الرحمن. خلق is مضاف and الرحمن is مضاف إليه.
Mhm.
من is حرف جر and
Mhm.
تفور من تفاؤت is اسم مجرور.
Beautiful. So this is
which is
okay.
again going back to the field خلق.
Mhm. Yes. Now I'm going to add something here, and I'm going to say that this min is زائدة. It is a حرف جار. It is acting on تفاوت. It is making it مجرور.
جي.
But its function here is زائدة. How do I know that? I omit it. I remove it in the sentence. If you get rid of the min and you say ما ترى في خلق الرحمن تفاوتا. Does that make sense? Of course it makes sense. You will not see in the creation of Ar-Rahman faults or flaws. You will not see in the creation of Ar-Rahman flaws. Right? Makes sense. So this min
جي.
is extra. It
Yeah.
just adds many flaws. Right? So that's what it adds. It adds that any flaws.
Any, okay.
Yes.
Emphasis. جي.
Emphasis, exactly. So this
Absolutely no flaws.
is exactly. So that's a grammar point that we will also look for when we're looking at the translations. We'll try and find this mean. Did the translators use this mean or not? We'll see.
The translation, okay. Fa is harf atf again.
So this fa, yes,
Irji.
it's harf atf, but it
Atf and
has,
it can be
I'm going to
like
add other
following
things.
after that this. It comes in the order, like showing the order.
Yes,
Oh,
that's
ta'leel.
one. There actually, you can look at this for 3 different ways, and we will discuss that.
Inshallah.
So the first one you said was harf atif. I'm not going to write it because of space. But the other ones that I'm adding is fa at-ta'lil and fa fasiha. And we will discuss about those as well.
Farji'i. This is fi'l amr. Irji. So anta is the file mustatir in it. Al-basra is maful bihi. Basra. So hal tara min fata tafa'ut. So this can be again a maful bihi for this in the form of jumla ismiya.
Good observation. So this hal tara min futur is actually fi mahalli nasab maf'ul bihi. But we'll see maf'ul bihi of what? Right?
Hal tara min like irji. It can be irji.
It's not for irja. It's the fi'l is
tara.
actually mahdoof, and I will explain that because it's a very difficult concept to understand, but I'll try and explain that a bit. So we can pause that for a bit. Let's just look at now hal tara.
Hal is harf istifham. Tara is fi'l mudari. Again, anta zamir mustatir is the file. Then min again, if I don't know, this is harf jar. Futurin is majroor.
So look, min tafawutin, min futurin, kind of similar.
Zaida again. Futurin, so then it will be maful bihi for this tara.
Yes.
If min is zaid, inshallah.
Exactly. So the same thing with tafawut here. We can say this tafawut is majroor lafzan, but mansoob mahallan. Right. Same thing with this one. It's majroor lafzan. In wording, it is majroor. You can see the tanween, the kasratain. It is in wording, it is majroor. But in meaning, it is actually mansoob. It means maf'ul bihi here. Right? So that's how you understand this. So you can write this as, if you want to explain, you can say, okay, this is majroor lafdan mansoob mahallan, or you will actually come across this when you see grammar books. They would mention things like that. All right. Are we clear? Any questions? Are we good? Okay. So there are a number of things that I said I'd go back to explaining.
Yeah.
You have a question? Oh, you're saying, yeah, it's clear. Okay, good.
Yeah, I was just verifying.
Okay, thank you. All right, so we have, I said alladhi here. There are three possibilities that we can look at alladhi. So we can look at this alladhi as badal, like we've explained before. I think that one is clear. The other way of looking at it is a sifa. So the question then becomes a sifa to what? Now you see, you look at the sentence that comes before and you see two names of Allah. Huwa al-Azizu al-Ghafur, right? And here alladhi is also talking about Allah. So some of the grammarians have said that this alladhi is actually going back to al-Ghafur. So it's a sifa to al-Ghafur. So huwa al-Azizu al-Ghafur alladhi. He is al-Aziz al-Ghafur, the one who. So they've looked at this alladhi as a sifa to al-Ghafur, and it's still talking about Allah. Nothing has changed, right? The only thing that has changed in that analysis is that this sentence continues from al-Ghafur. Whereas if you look at it as badal, then this alladhi goes back to tabarak. So that would be a different way of looking at it. Tabaraka is the one who created seven samawat. But if you look at it as a sifa, then he is almighty, all forgiving, the one who. So the one who is all forgiving is the one who created seven heavens. This is a different meaning, because now it's alluding to the fact that the one who is all forgiving is the one who created the seven heavens in layers. Yeah, I am not really convinced of that analysis. I feel like this as a badal makes the most sense, because all of this description, they go back to the idea that Allah is blessed. Allah is plentiful. The one who created seven heavens must be blessed. Just like the one who created death and life. Can you imagine? Can you fathom a bigger concept than death and life? I mean, in our reality, in our world, and we shall expound on this when we're talking about explanation next week, inshallah. Death and life, these are massive concepts. In our creation, we have architecture that is big and massive, but nothing can compare to the creation of death itself, or the creation of life itself, right? So these are massive things. Only the one who is blessed can be able to accomplish such feats of creation. And that's the point that Allah is trying to make here. He is blessed. And how would you know that he is blessed? He is the one who owns all kingdom, and he is the one who is capable of all things, and he is the one who created death and life, and he is the one who created the seven heavens in layers, in harmony. So that's the idea. And the other way of looking at alladhi is that you assume that there's a mubtada here that is mahdoof, and the mubtada is huwa alladhi. هو الذي خلق سبع سماوات طباقا. So you look at it as a new sentence that is not related to the previous ones, and it is a khabar. And again, for me, I feel like this alladhi goes back to tabarak, because the message is to show how blessed Allah is and how plentiful He is. That's the idea, right? So those are some of the grammatical ways in which this ayah, this alladhi in particular, can be looked at. Then we have tibaqan. Tibaqan, like we said, it is a hal of khalaqa. How did Allah create the seven heavens? Tibaqan, that's how. What does tibaqan mean? Two meanings. One, tibaqan can be considered a plural of the word tabqun or tabaqa. Tabaqa means a layer. So like we have, I don't want to complicate things for you, but anyway, so tabaqa means a layer, and then tibaq is plural for tabaqa, for layer. So tibaq, layers. Tabaqa, layer. Tibaq, layers. Right? So that's one meaning. And you will find this a very common meaning, where most of the translators would use layers, or one above the other. Right? And then you have another meaning of tibaq, where you have from the jahada family, فاعل يفاعل. طابق يطابق طباق ومطابقة. Of course, the more commonly used masdar is mutabaqa, but also tibaq exists. So some of the grammarians have said that this tibaq actually is a masdar from family number 3, jahada family. So now you have the meaning of a plural of a layer, which is layers, and then you have the meaning of harmony. طابق يطابق, to follow something seamlessly, harmoniously, right? So they just kind of like enter into each other seamlessly. So Allah is saying, هو الذي خلق سبع سماوات طباقا. How did He create? Harmoniously. They just flow into one another beautifully, harmoniously, seamlessly. That's one meaning. The other meaning is طباقا, layers, one above the other, right? So that's how you look at this. To me, those are two meanings. And here's my belief when it comes to the Quran. When the Quran offers multiple explanations or multiple ways of looking at something, I don't believe like you just stick to one. I believe like you look at all of them, because this is the word of Allah. We cannot limit it. We shouldn't limit it to one way of looking at something. If itself it's giving us possibilities, why are we limiting it to one particular possibility? You know, and I think that's the challenge with translation, and that's why I actually refrain from translation, because one, I'm not qualified. The other thing is it's a very challenging task. How do you limit the Quran, which has so many possibilities, only to fit one possibility? And we're going to see that in translation as well. And that's why learning Arabic, and especially Arabic grammar, is very important. Right. The other thing I said I would look at was what else is there? Let me see.
من تفاوت.
من تفاوت. Yes. من زائدة. Right. So في خلق الرحمن من تفاوت. Like we said, if you remove this min, then it becomes في خلق الرحمن تفاوتا. Then you can see the مفعول به. You cannot, so ترى تفاوتا. You do not see تفاوت. مفعول به. But then this min, it comes in and just like removes any possibility. Like you will not see any form, any kind of flaw with Allah's creation, with the creation of Ar-Rahman. Any kind of flaw. So there's an emphasis there in meaning. In grammar, there's no emphasis, there's no addition. But in meaning, there's something that has been added. It's different from when I say, you did not eat the cake. Or you did not eat cake. It's different from if I said, you did not eat any cake. Yeah, you can see the difference. You can feel the difference. You do not eat cake, there's no emphasis. But not even a single like drop of, you did not have any of it. And Allah is saying, you look at the creation of Ar-Rahman, you will not see any single flaw with the creation of Ar-Rahman. So it adds a little bit of emphasis. And then he goes on to say, فَرْجِعِ الْبَصَرَ هَلْ تَرَى مِنْ فُتُورٍ. Same thing with this futur. You would not see any kind of fault, any kind of crack, any kind of hole, yeah, with the creation of Allah. So that's min za'ida, and that's the meaning that is alluded there. Of course, he could just have said, هَلْ تَرَى فُتُورًا. Do you see any cracks? No, but do you see any form of crack? Do you see any kind of hole, any kind of fault? Yeah, so there's an emphasis there. All right. The other thing is about this fa that I wanted to talk about. So we said, okay, one possibility, fa harf atf or fa isti'naf, maybe starting a new sentence or just connecting. We can actually look at his fa harf atf, connecting this to that, because the message is the same. هل ترى ارجع البصر هل ترى يعني ما ترى and هل ترى, like it's kind of similar messages. So you can look at it as حرف عطف. But some grammarians have looked at this as fa التعليل, because, fa of because. It gives a reason. How do we understand that? ما ترى في خلق الرحمن من تفاوت لذلك ارجع البصر. You will not see in the creation of Ar-Rahman any single flaw. For that reason, go back and look. Go back and look again. Because you will not see any fault, Allah is challenging us to go back and look. Like, try and find out. Do you see any? So you can look at this fa as fa at-ta'lil, giving us a reason. Because, go back. For that reason, go back and look. Right? So you can translate this fa as, for that reason, go back and look. That's one way of looking at it. The other way of looking at it is fa fasiha. And fa fasiha is one of those very difficult fas to explain or to even be able to identify it in a sentence. Like we mentioned, fa fasiha is the kind of fa that comes after a sentence, a jumla shartiya that is hidden. So there's a jumla shartiya before this fa that is hidden, that is assumed or understood. And then this fa comes in to sort of like explain to you or give indication to you that there's something missing, something that has not been said. What is this thing that has not been said? Possibility could be, why is it so small? I'm just gonna make this big. إن أردت الفصح أو المعاينة. What is this? Okay, so this is the assumed sentence, right? Before the fa, we have إن أردت الفصح. What do we mean by إن أردت الفصح? We mean if you actually want to scrutinize, if you want to examine, if you want to find these faults, فارجع البصر. Then go ahead, go look again. So it is assumed that there's a sentence here for that person that is doubting. For example, if you hear the sentence ما ترى في خلق الرحمن من تفاوت, you will not see any single flaw in the creation of Ar-Rahman. Somebody might be like, what do you mean? Seriously, not a single flaw? Like somebody might have some doubts, right? So in other words, as a challenge, Allah is saying, okay, if you are doubtful, ارجع البصر. If you feel like, you know, maybe you can find a flaw, then go back, take a look again, right? So you now see this fa could be fa fasiha for a conditional sentence if you were doubtful or if you think you want to scrutinize and re-examine again and again. Go on, nobody's holding you. Go on and do it. So you see now the meaning of fa fasiha. So now we've looked at 3 meanings of just this fa alone. It could just be showing tartib, this after this, or it could be showing the reason why. For this reason, you may return your eyesight so many times and you will not find a flaw. Why? Because there's no flaw to be found. So that's the reason. Or it could be challenging that person who is doubtful and be like, are you serious? Are you for real? And Allah is challenging them and say, okay, if you're doubtful, go back and look, right? I hope that meaning of this fa is clear. So فارجعي البصر هل ترى من فتور. Then you have this portion. And this portion is probably one of the hardest. Even for me, I find it difficult to understand, but we shall try to understand it the best we can. Okay. So you have فارجعي البصر, and then we can assume that there's a full stop here. So the sentence ends here. If you are doubtful, then return your sight. Or for that reason, return your sight. Full stop. End of sentence. And then you have هل ترى من فتور. Like, what is this? What is this doing here? Like, how do we understand this? Okay, we can say هل is harf, so there's no grammar. ترى من فتور. Do you see any flaws? It feels like it is lacking something. It is lacking something to tell us what is going on. So the grammarians have mentioned that here there's a fi'l that is related to tara, the idea of seeing, okay, which is undur. Okay, so the verb tara, we don't have a fi'l amr for it. We don't use a fi'l amr for it. Rather, we use undur, right? Undur for fi'l amr. So انظر ماذا? Look at what? هل ترى من فتور? Do you see any futur? I'll give you an English example so that this idea can be clear, because I know it's very confusing. So if I say, let me write in English. Look, what do you see? Right? If I say look, what do you see? Look is a fi'al amr. What do you see? This entire sentence can be replaced with a maf'ul bihi. For example, if I answer this question, what would it be? Maybe I can say abad. Abad. What do you see? Abad. So this abad is a maf'ul bihi. It's the thing that you see. It answers the question, what? So this abad can replace this sentence. Can replace this sentence. So this sentence, in a sense, is also a maf'ul bihi. Because look, what do you see? It's a maf'ul bihi. Because the answer to that maf'ul bihi is a maf'ul bihi, right? What do you see? Abad. This is how you do the i'rab of istifham. I know question words are very difficult to understand, and bear with me, even if you don't understand it this time, it's okay, because it also takes, and it took me quite a number of times in order to understand how istifham works in Arabic, and it's not a topic that you'll just get it the first time round. Okay, so if you don't get it, it's fine, and if you get it, alhamdulillah. But in any case, if I say just look, yeah, what answers that question? Abad. So this abad is a maf'ul bihi, and therefore this what is also a maf'ul bihi. That's how we look at question words in Arabic, right? The same way, now, previously my question was, what do you see? I can replace this question word what with do you see anything? Instead of saying what do you see, I can say do you see anything? And the same concept will still apply. So this do you see anything will still be a maf'ul bihi. Same thing with here. So undur is look. And then هل ترى من فتور? Do you see any cracks? Would be the مفعول به of this undur. في محل نسب. But of course it's an entire sentence. And then that entire sentence, like we did, we said ترى is فعل مضارع, فاعل أنت, من زائدة, like we said before, and فتور would be مفعول به في محل نسب. Right? Is that clear? Did I confuse you, Father? Did I make things difficult? I know
Yeah,
this
that was quite clear, yeah.
Okay, alhamdulillah.
So undur is like the ma'tuf, not ma'tuf. What mahdhuf, the missing one?
Mahdhuf, exactly. Yeah, it's missing.
Okay.
It's not mentioned. And of
Yeah,
course, yeah, go on.
No, go ahead.
Now, I was just going to say, how do we know that it is undur? Because it goes back to the idea of seeing. The whole point of this is tara. Hal tara min futur. So this tara, it kind of points us to the idea of looking. You must have looked for you to see. Right? Yeah.
And I was going to say that the grammar of a question is outside of Dream Program, but I also learned what you were trying to explain just now. So you kind of emphasize what I kind of learned. So that's good.
Alhamdulillah, that's good. Yeah, the question words are I think it's one of the difficult topics in Arabic. But if you just understand the concept, especially if you understand how to replace the question that it answers.
Yes, the answer is in the answer.
Yes.
Yeah, the answer to the grammar of the question is in the answer.
Precisely. Yeah, that's how you look at it. Exactly. Yeah. Beautiful. Okay. So maybe quickly we can go through the sarf, or maybe before we do the sarf, maybe we can do the explanation. Let's just look at a little bit about the explanation, the translation, sorry, and then we can go to the sarf, just based on some of those grammatical nuances that we mentioned. So last time we looked at ayah number 1. You cannot see my screen, I think. Let me reshare. Okay. So last time we looked at ayah number 1, and we looked at some of the grammatical nuances there. So we'll go to ayah number 2, the one that we started with today. So الذي خلق, and you can see he is the one who Dr. Mustafa Khattab added here. So he's looking at it as huwa الذي. So he adds a huwa, a mubtada here mahdhuf. Like we mentioned, there are certain possibilities of this الذي. You can either look at it as a badal going back, or you can look at it as a new sentence, or you can look at it as a here ayah number 2, it cannot be a sifa because it doesn't end with the names of Allah. But here, because it ends with the name of Allah here, we can look at it as a sifa, the next one. So here you can see automatically the first one, he's looking at it as mubtada khabar, right? And then who created death and life in order to test which of you is best. So this is another thing you can look at. We said أحسن is اسم تفضيل. It's not أفضل التفضيل. أفضل التفضيل, what is that? That is superlative. And how do we know superlative in Arabic? If it has al on it, or if it is mudaf to a mudaf ilayhi that is proper. So if it is proper, but it is not proper here. You see, it is ahsanu. It's not al-ahsan. If it was al-ahsan, then we would say best, right? And then, of course, you see here another translation, better. Now, obviously, that makes more sense because better. And again, by the way, I'm not trying to scrutinize translators here. They did a wonderful job. I cannot do this job myself because I'm not qualified. I'm just trying to learn from their experience and also from what we understand from the grammar and the language of the Quran. I need to make that very clear so that it doesn't come out like I'm scrutinizing these scholars. I'm not a scholar myself, so that's not the point of this. Anyway, and then we said that this wow, wow could be haliya, could be a new sentence maybe, right? And so you can see Mustafa Khattab here puts a full stop and then begins a new sentence. And he is almighty or forgiving. So he's treating this probably as a new sentence. Allahu Ta'ala alam. I'm not so sure. I cannot speak for him, but I'm just looking at his work, right? And then, so we talked about this better. And here you can see the one who. So it goes back to tabaraka. The one who did this, the one who did this, the one who did this, right? And then, of course, again, a new sentence here. He who created death and life to test as to which of you is best. So for us, we understand this as better. And why am I insisting on this idea of better and not best? Because the point is we can never be best. Human beings, we are constantly flawed. We are created flawed, right? There's no way, it's impossible for any one of us to be best. Even the Prophet ﷺ, who is the best of creation, is not best. He made mistakes, right? I mean, not major mistakes, but he made mistakes as well, right? Because he's human. That's in us. There's no way a person can be best indeed.
But this is best indeed, not best like
yes,
absolute best.
But even in deeds, you cannot be best in deeds. Like you cannot perform these deeds in utmost perfection. The idea is you be better than yesterday. Today, you are like this, then tomorrow you're going to be better and going to be better and better and better until the day you die. It's a constant struggle. There's no day that you will wake up.
When you say better, you're talking about yourself only, comparing yourself to yourself yesterday, right?
Yes.
But when you say which one of you is best or better, it's like you comparing to the other human beings.
Both ways, actually. Better is in that I am better than myself yesterday, and I'm also better than somebody else.
Yeah.
Like I'm striving to be better than somebody else, but I'm also striving to be better than myself. Because remember...
Yeah, I think the myself one is kind of more meaningful because...
yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, I mean, it's our own self. We're struggling with our own nafs.
Yeah.
To grow ourselves. That's the idea. Yeah. Because again, this idea of best, being best, I mean, it feels like it's the end. But when you talk about better, it's a constant, continuous struggle. Like there's no end to it. So that's why I prefer the understanding of better as opposed to just, And then here we have, like a punctuation, like this dash, like, so that means that the sentence is not ending. It's not a full stop, because a full stop means the sentence has ended. But if you have this kind of, punctuation, then the sentence is not ending. So now he's looking at it probably as a hal, as opposed to a new sentence. So waw haliya, and he is exalted in might. Same thing with Abdul Halim here. So you can see the punctuation continues. And he translates a bit different. So and reveal which of you does best. So doing best. So this one I can actually understand. Doing best. So every day you try to do your best. You will not reach it, but you're just trying to do your best. Right? So maybe that one I can, I don't know, maybe understand it. Right? Then we have created death and life to say which one is best indeed. He has a footnote. Who amongst you do the good deeds in the most perfect manner? So you see this idea of doing in the most perfect manner. We cannot really achieve this at the end of the day. We'll try our best. That's the idea. I'm trying to see if there's anything new that maybe somebody else mentioned. Who created death and life? And you might try to see. Again, so you see, I like this. Try to see which of you is better. Like you're just trying. You will never reach your best. Who has created best in conduct, and he's the mighty. Yeah, so again, this one indicates that, probably this sentence is a continuous sentence. It's not the end. It's not a new sentence. So we look at that probably maybe as a hal. Same thing with this one, Yeah. Oh, and then we have number 3. So again, you see Dr. Mustafa Khattab, he's looking at this as mubtada khabar. He is the one who. He is the one who. And like we said, there are several possibilities. So who means it's going back to something that has been mentioned before, which could be either a sifa here, or it could be a badal, going back to tabarak. Now, we talked about tibaqa, so you can see here, one above the other, the meaning of layer. Yeah, layers, one above the other. ما ترى في خلق الرحمن من تفاوت. You'll never see any imperfection, right? فالجيع البصر هل ترى من فتور. So look again, do you see any flaws, right? Again, one over the other, layers, the meaning of layers. You will see nothing. Again, that emphasis of min tafawut. You will see nothing out of proportion. It's not like saying you will see, I don't know how else you can render this, but the idea is that there's some emphasis in that sentence. Who created the 7 heavens in layers. So you see the meaning of layers. Majority of the translators are preferring this meaning. You don't see in the creation of the most any inconsistency. So return your vision. Do you see any breaks or folds or rifts or holes or cracks, whatever, right? Again, who created the 7 heavens, one above the other, the meaning of layers. You will not see any flaw in what the Lord of mercy creates. Look again, can you see any flaw? So it's different from if you say, can you see a flaw? Here you're saying, can you see any flaw? So there's a kind of emphasis being created there. One above the other for layers. Can you see no fault? You can see no fault in the creation of the Most High. I feel like here there's the emphasis is a bit missing, maybe, but Allah Ta'ala Alam. Can you see any rifts, right? Again, one upon the other. I think this is the preferred translation for most translators. You will see no incongruity. Turn your vision again. Can you see any flaw? And finally, we have somebody who ventured into the unknown and said, who has created 7 heavens in harmony? So we have one translator out of all these English translators who actually decided, I'm not going to go one above the other or layers, and I'm going to go with the meaning of tibaqa as masdar from family number 3 and say in harmony, right? But my point is, why can't you just merge the two? Why can't you just say who created the 7 heavens seamlessly, one above the other? That would just capture both meanings. And I mean, I don't know. Allah Ta'ala Alam, it would just be perfect. Right, one above the other again. And this is Old English.
So you would put it in layers one above the other, or one above the other in harmony?
Both, yes, I would say like that. One above the other in harmony. Or
For the
seamlessly,
min
one above the other.
tafawut?
For tibaqat.
Oh, sorry, tibakan.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, because it has 2 meanings. So why are we just focusing on one or the other? Why not combine both of them? Because that's the idea that the Quran is presenting. It's not limited. That's my argument. Yeah.
Do you have any thoughts or from what you've read about the looking again? I'm just intrigued about the looking again. Why Allah tell us to look again?
Yeah, so yeah, and we will discuss that in detail, inshallah, next week if we have the time. I don't know if
Okay.
probably we will get to. I don't know if we'll get to number 3, but we'll see. But the idea is that there are different audiences being addressed here. So there's probably, like we said, this is a Meccan surah. So there are a lot of people who are doubting the Quran and its legitimacy. And so Allah is trying to prove to these people, like Allah is the one who's created all of these things, and He has not created any, like if you just go outside and look at the sky, you look at the sky, you will not see the beginning or the end. And the idea of tibaq also has this idea of like seamless. Like when you look at a cloth, a piece of clothing that a human being created, you can see the seams. You can see where it begins and where it ends. Any creation of human beings. Like you can be able to ascertain, okay, that this is the structure, this is where. But when you go outside and look at the skies, can you say this sky begins from this point and then ends at this point? Can you say that there's a crack, like this tells me that, you know, this is where it was joined, for example, or that this is where it all came together, or this is the beginning point of it? You cannot. So Allah is saying, go look. He created 7 of those, and it's so harmonious, so seamless, one above the other. You cannot even begin to see any faults in it. You cannot begin to see a crack. So any person who's doubting, and the idea is return your gaze so many times, you'll just be tired because it's not a single flaw. That's the idea of scrutinizing. Allah wants us to scrutinize evidence, not to just believe blindly. This is not about blind faith, about scrutinizing and coming to the evidence and be content with the evidence that this is in fact the truth. So that's the idea of returning and scrutinizing and going back to the same evidence and looking again and trying to figure out, yeah, this is the truth, and being convinced that this is the truth. So I think, yeah, that's one of the points. Inshallah, we'll dive deeper, inshallah, next week.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Yeah, like for ayah number 3, you said it will be khabar. So you'll be saying the reason why it is khabar. So what will be the reason for that, sister?
So, like, if you look at
Mubtada will be?
could you say that again?
What will be the mubtada for that then?
Huwa. So you can see the way
Okay,
Dr.
mahzoof.
Mustafa has translated here. He is the one who. Where is he getting he? Huwa alladhi.
Okay.
So he's getting
Then
the from huwa,
which is mahzoof here, like.
which is
So we have to
mahdoof.
consider it as. Okay.
Exactly.
Ji.
Which is mahdoof.
Inshallah.
Yeah. Correct. Any other questions? Okay. Seems okay. I don't think it would be wise for me to start the sarf, to be honest. We can start this as we're doing the next section, so we can do the sarf of this, and then we do the nahw of ayah number 4 to 5, maybe. We'll see. It's not really a lot. But yeah, I think because we're at the top of the hour, we can do this next time, inshallah, no worries. Because again, sarf requires the brain to be attentive. You know, and we're already, I think, tired for now. I gave you a lot to think about, and I don't want to. Yes, Zelina, go ahead.
I just like to know about min zaida, the one that you mentioned earlier. How that means the only way for us to know that min in that sentence doesn't have a meaning is like implying something else about the sentence is by looking at the translation. Is that so?
Yes. Unfortunately, you just have to understand the meaning, and then you can be able to understand like if it's extra, zaida or not. The meaning would be the right way to tell you that. Because you know, min harf jar has different functions or has different meanings. Yeah. So maybe
usually
you can also use process of elimination, maybe, but that will not get you exactly where you need to be. So I think the best way, look at the translation. You can go ahead. You were saying something.
Okay, thank you.
That was it? Okay. Yeah, welcome. So yeah, so like for example, if I want to say that this is min ibtida, like min ibtida begins, like if I said I started my journey from the capital city to the village. From the capital city to the village is still min. But this kind of min is showing my starting point. From here to here. Or from this point to that point. Now here, if I look at that meaning does not make sense. So I automatically eliminate that kind of min. Then I look at a different kind of min and I see, does this mean make sense here? And ultimately you will end up at min zaida. But then I think that's a longer process. But if you just look at the translation, it will automatically get you there. Because if you look at the translation here, you will never see any imperfection. Min tafawut, any imperfection. So what will you not see? Imperfection. So it answers the question, what? And immediately you see that, then you'll be like, oh, this is maf'ul bihi. That means this min is not support, is extra, is zaida, right? So that's kind of like how you can immediately get to know that. It's really interesting doing grammar and then looking for a translation. How exactly, yeah, that's the whole point, isn't it? For us to be able to see the different what the thing with translation is that it has to be limited because you're translating a superior language to an inferior language. So the translators, may Allah bless them so much, they had to make sacrifices. They had to make compromises. They had to decide which word is the best that I can use, like which is the closest, because you cannot put all the words. If you're to put all the words of the Quran, then this will not be a translation. It will be another 20 volume, 30 volume book, and nobody wants that. So we want to offer the meaning, the translation of the meanings of the Quran in a way that people can easily access them and just get the basic understanding. That's the whole point of translation, right? So you get to see how this mufassir or this translator, for example, not a mufassir, but translator, how they went about a certain challenge. Which word did they use? And you can see also, like, for the idea how they translated tafawut. So we know it as fault, but then you see somebody said imperfection. Another person said out of proportion. Another person said inconsistency. Another one says flaw. Another one says fault. Another one says incongruity. Another one says goes back to fault. Another one proportion. So again, like in Arabic, it's still tafawut. It's just one word. But in English, all these different words. And that goes to show the superiority of the Arabic language over the English language. You cannot have an exact match of the Arabic. So you have to make sacrifices and deal with what you can get. And when we are discussing the different meanings of this word, like for example, the difference between tafawut and futur, yeah? So this is flaw, this is fault. But then the translators have different translations. We will go into the details of the meanings and dig deeper, inshallah, so that we can appreciate even this language even more. All right. Alhamdulillah. Yes, it does. It's so important. We read the Quran in Arabic, and because we are not Arabs and we don't really understand Arabic, we don't really interact and connect with the Quran. But when you actually read the translation and you compare different translations, and by the way, just a point for you, maybe some of you know, maybe you don't, but this website that I use, Quran.com, it has translations in all the languages. So forget if English is not your first language, you can change this. You can change this and select whichever language, So we have English and all the different languages. So you can find your language and also read it in your language. See how it was translated in your language and discover, did they capture some of these things that we're talking about? Maybe not, but they tried their very best just to be able to render the Arabic into a language that other people can understand as well. So that's the whole point. It's been lovely having you guys. Alhamdulillah, I appreciate you. I don't know if there's any other questions or comments, clarifications, or if somebody wants to say anything, feel free. And yeah, we can stop there for now. And then inshallah, next week we will do the explanation of now ayah number 1 to ayah number 3 so that we can actually appreciate the Quran even more, inshallah. And I hope to do justice to this ayat. Every time the Quran just challenges me, subhanallah. وإياكم جزاكم الله خيرا. I will see you guys next week. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. السلام عليكم وإياكم جزاكم الله خير.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi
Assalam
wabarakatuh.
warahmatullahi
Thank you so much,
Jazakallah khair.
Ilham.
You're welcome.
Waalaikumsalam.